Rito is a lonely virgin who's put in a cold sleep because of his illness. Years later, he wakes up to learn that he is the last man alive on Earth, and he must clap non-stop to repopulate the planet and save humanity. It all starts when Rito finally confesses to his crush Arissa, but it's only because he has a deadly disease called cellular sclerosis, and will be going into cold sleep as the cure won't be ready for another 5 years. Hearing this, Arissa tears up and leaves him because she's upset she won't get to taste his sausage for a while. Later, he heads to the hospital, where he says goodbye to his sister Mahiru and his older brother. Just then, Arissa comes to see him, and Rito gives her his necklace to hold on to a token of their love. After she happily accepts it, Rito lies inside the sleep chamber and realizes everyone he knows will have moved on by the time he wakes up. That's when he hears Arissa crying and screaming that she will wait for him as long as it takes, and this puts him at ease. With that, the guy sleeps and wakes up to a random hot girl named Mira, along with some other shocked nurses. When Rito starts asking questions, Mira promises to explain everything, but first, she takes him to a doctor for a medical checkup, and he learns that he is cured of his deadly illness. Afterward, Mira takes him on a ride so she can explain everything that happened in the last 5 years, but Rito immediately senses that something is wrong. Mira then reveals that while he was asleep, another deadly virus came about and wiped out half of humanity, and there is no cure as of now. Rita believes she is capping and runs out of the car, only to get surrounded by dozens of thirsty chicks. That's when Mira catches up and tells him that almost all the men in this world have died due to the virus, and only 5 of them are alive in cold sleep. Rito questions why he is alive, and she says it's due to the treatment he received in his sleep. Just then, a freaky woman tries to jump on Rito's sausage, but she gets tased by Mira's guards and is knocked out. Mira then gets on one knee and begs Rito to murder as many cookies as he wants because they need him to make babies to save humanity. The next day, Rito is briefed on the world run by the United Women's Group, which is currently working to develop a vaccine. Even though their work is unfinished, they found a sliver of hope when a cellular sclerosis patient named Hino took treatment and also became immune to the man-ending virus. After Hino was deemed immune, the group decided to wake up other men with cellular sclerosis one by one, and that's how Rito ended up in this situation. As Rito processes everything, Mira asks him to stay off the streets because no one besides the higher-ups knows of his existence. She then reminds him that he needs to start clapping and reproducing, but Rito suggests using artificial methods. However, Mira informs him that humans born from such methods don't have immunity and die again, which is why he must do the manual labor, adding that number 1 has already impregnated a woman, and their offspring might save humanity. Rito believes it's all a prank and wishes to go home, so Mira decides to bring out Mahiru instead. After a heartfelt reunion, Mahiru takes him to another room where Rito learns that his elder brother is also in cold sleep. Afterward, he asks Mahiru about Arissa, and she hesitantly tells him that she's been missing for 3 years. Mira believes Arissa might have already died due to the harsh conditions of the world, but Rito refuses to believe it and starts calling her number in panic. Later, Mira informs the higher-ups that Rito still hasn't chosen a partner yet, so they start scolding her and remind her how important it is that he creates offspring. Because of that, she visits his room looking like a snack and immediately drops her plot armor to cure Rito's erectile dysfunction. She then gets on top and gives him a kiss, asking him to let her have his pickle juice, but despite the temptation, Rito recalls Arissa's face and immediately pushes her away, causing Mira to walk out of the room.
Come on, man.
Outside, she runs into Hino's attendant Neen, who suggests she let Hino clap her instead because Rito seems like the fruity kind, but she turns her down. Meanwhile, Rito remembers that he gave a pendant to Arissa and learns that its tracker is still active. The next day, Mira takes him to a chamber filled with busty hoes who are all dying to crank it with him. But the guy is such a virgin he can't work a chick if she came with a manual. Mira then warns him that all the men in cold sleep, including his brother, will die in a year if a cure isn't found. And since Rito plays by the bros before hoes rule, he agrees to pick a partner. However, he asks Mira to give him 1 month because he wants to find Iria first. Mira agrees to let him do what he wants for 1 month if he at least shares a bed with a woman of her choosing who will help him practice his strokes for the big day.
Yes, yes, yes!
The following day, Hino is getting a premium massage from 2 hot chicks as he watches a movie of her favorite actress named Rina. Just then, Neen walks in and tells him it's time for intense cardio and he must choose a partner for himself. Hino is unsure about who to pick, so Neen blesses him with his favorite actress. Later, Rina arrives in his room, and Hino can't believe he's about to clap the woman he's gooned to for years. Without wasting any time, he starts farming her melons, and before giving her a tongue twister that fries Rina's brain. After that, he demonstrates his expert plumbing skills and unclogs Rina's pipes, leaving her satisfied with the job. Meanwhile, Rito is enjoying breakfast with Mahiru and Mira, and they tell him they have the best chefs from all over the world just for him. Mira then orders a huge portion for herself, and Mahiru admits she's jealous because Mira eats like Eddie Hall, but is built like Ana de Armas. When Rito starts staring at Mira's milk packs, Mahira gets upset and heads to her room. Afterward, Mira tells him she will give him a bodyguard and a nurse to make sure he's safe and healthy, and he will also be sharing a bed with a woman each night. With that, Rito returns to his room but runs into Hino and Neen, and Hino eagerly proposes that they become friends because they don't have any other men around here. He also assures Rito that everything he is told is absolutely real, and they are lucky enough to clap shotties left and right. When Rito says he's not that thrilled, Hino realizes he's a twink and asks him to enjoy this new reality. After he leaves, Rito heads to the shower and goons to the last time he saw Arissa's face. Just then, the lights turn off, and he extends his hand to find himself holding a natural bouncy ball. That's when he realizes he's joined by his bodyguard, a curvy goddess named Akane, who immediately starts love-bombing him. Before Rito can figure out what's going on, she opens a bottle of her drink and makes Rito taste it from her lips and tests Rito's patience. But the guy folds in 2 seconds and passes out in her arms.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man.
Later, he wakes up in his bed to find Akane sleeping on the sofa, but he's shocked to find a loli in his bed.
Say that again?
She introduces herself as Sui, and Rito realizes she must be the nurse Mira appointed for him. Just then, Akane wakes up and immediately joins him in bed, promising not to jork his wee-wee for tonight. After the girls fall asleep, Rito realizes Mira is testing his patience, so he stays up all night to control himself. The next day, he takes the girls to Arissa's former workplace to look for her, but someone is tailing them in secrecy. Mira then asks him why he thinks Arissa is still alive, and he says it's because he gave her a pendant with a tracker, and that tracker is still active. Just then, Akane offers him some of her juice to make him relax, but he tells her she shouldn't be drinking on her job. Just then, the sirens go off, and a bear appears out of nowhere, leaving them in shock. It goes straight for Sui, but Rito jumps in front and saves her from becoming mincemeat. He asks the girls to run away, but Sui suddenly locks him and kicks the bear in the head, which causes it to go unconscious. That's when he learns that Sui is actually his bodyguard, and she starts crying and apologizing because she didn't react quickly enough. Akane then tends to the wound he got as his nurse, and Mira scolds the officials for having weak security, not knowing that it was planned by someone. Afterward, she takes Rito to Arissa's former lab, which appears to be a mess. After she disappeared, someone broke in and stole most of her research regarding the man-ending virus, which is why her lab is a mess. Rito then finds a picture of her with her dog Jiro, and it takes him back to the day when the doctors didn't have a cure for Jiro's illness. That's when she decided to become a doctor, and Rito promised to become one too, so they could save the dog. In Pretend, Rito asks Mira if it is selfish not to clap because he's in love with someone, but she says she can't answer that. When he asks how many men are in cold sleep, she says the actual number is unknown because the relationship between countries is bad. In that moment, Rito realizes that he still won't be able to save the world with the thing in his pants, so instead, he decides to save the world with the thing in his skull by developing a cure. Soon after, Mahiro is helping out at an orphanage when she sees the news broadcast speaking about a man who is immune to the virus. The reporter then introduces Rito to the world, and everyone is shocked to see a man for the first time in 4 years. Unbeknownst to him, Arissa is still alive and listens to his broadcast. Later, he finds Arissa's teddy bear in his belongings, which was hiding a smart ring inside. The smart ring plays a message from Arissa, who learned that the virus was created in a lab, much to his shock. Later, he decides to go on a walk with Mira and tells her that he will hold off from finding Arissa and instead develop a cure first. However, Mira bows down and apologizes because she put his life in danger the other day, but he assures her everything is fine. He then asks her if she was bummed out about getting stuck with him because he's cock-blocking humanity from restoring itself. But Mira tells him she feels lucky because he's a kind man. That night, the United Women Group's higher-ups hold a meeting to discuss Rito's recent actions. They also talk about Hino, who's been clapping like a dog and has already made sure 28 women don't get their periods for the next 9 months. They praise Name for making it happen, but they are not happy with Mira's performance because Rito is not folding. They then agree to awaken number 3 so they can proceed with the next stage of their plan. 5 years ago, a guy named Doi was bullied by his classmate for looking like Gogo Satoru from Timu. As he walked the halls looking like a disaster, his only friend in school ignored him, which took him back to the day they first became friends. Then one day, he saw his friend being bullied, and when he tried to stop him, he became the victim of bullying too. Later, during his piano class, Miss Mommy Milker's Yuzu noticed that he was off his game, so he told her that some of his classmates were giving him a tough time. Yuzu felt bad for him and tried to lift his spirits with her stress balls, but noticed that he had a high fever and told him to return home for the day. On his way back, he went to the hospital to get himself checked, only to learn that he had cellular sclerosis. The doctors also told him it was fatal, and since there was no cure, he would be put in cold sleep for at least 4 years. The following day, Miss Yuzu told everyone in his class that Doi would be taking a long leave from school and asked him to say goodbye to his peers. However, no one gave two forks about him and left the class even before he could say anything. Yuzu apologized for their behavior, but Doi told her it's fine and thanked her for everything before leaving. When he went outside, he accidentally stumbled into his bully giving back shots to a chick. Once they spotted him, the bully gave him some shots too and told him to die so he never had to see his face again. That night, Doi lay in bed and told himself that the cold sleep would not be bad because at least the bullying would stop. Just then, his sister called him to let him know that she won't be able to visit him, but he told her it was fine because she was also suffering from a deadly illness. The next day, as he was put into the chamber, no one came to visit him, so he wished the world were different from what it is now when he woke up. 5 years later, he wakes up to a loud and dumb blonde named Karen, who excitedly introduces herself as his attendant. She then takes him to a dorm room of the same school he was in, where he tells her everything that has happened so far, and it makes Doi realize he is a valuable asset to this world. Karen also told him that lots of men, including his father, are in a cold sleep, and he will soon be able to see him. Doi asks about his sister and mother, who are in America, but Karen tells him that contact with other countries is limited. She also tells him that he is not allowed to leave this building, and anything he needs will be provided to him on the premises. Afterward, she takes him to his classroom full of girls and makes him introduce himself, which reminds him of his last encounter with his class. Later, he processes the fact that almost all the men are wiped out in the world, and that means he won't have to see his bullies ever again. After class, he asks Karen if it is really okay to be in school when the world is such a mess, and she tells him it's important to educate the young so they can run the world. She then takes him to meet his piano teacher, Yuzu, and she immediately wraps her arms around him. Karen then tells Yuzu that Doi deserves a reward for making it through those 5 years and casually leaves the room. During sports class, he recalls that Yuzu asks him to come to her room at night, and the guy is such a hardcore virgin that he still can't connect the dots. Just then, Karen joins him and encourages him to join his classmates, but he tells her he's always been bad with girls. Karen then starts telling him about the girls in his class, along with their cup sizes, but Doi's mind is still occupied with his bullies. She then leans in and asks him to get closer to the girls in his class before joining the others. At night, Doi heads to Yuzu's room as she asked and is flattered to find her dressed in her night suit. As they sit together, she starts telling about herself, but Doi doesn't hear a word because he's focused on her melon farm. She then suddenly asks him if he's stopped liking her now that she is older, but Doi tells her that's not the case. Hearing this makes her relieved, so she turns on the naughty lights and suddenly locks lips with her. At first, Doi lies still, thinking this is a dream, but when Yuzu awakens his inner Neanderthal by showing him her chamber of secrets, he suddenly turns into Johnny Sins and takes her on a long drive to Pound Town. The next day in class, Doi is still daydreaming about clapping his favorite teacher when his classmate Natsu starts asking him questions about his favorite music. Just as she tries to riz him up, another classmate named Shunka interrupts them and starts getting closer to him. This makes Natsu jealous, so she pinches Doi's leg before leaving them be, which leaves him confused. Later, he heads to the volleyball court where he sees Akira, a girl with a massive rack, competing with a 4-foot shoddy named Shifuyu over superiority. During the match, Akira slams the ball towards Shifuyu, but it bounces off her head and hits Doi in the face. As everyone gathers around him to make sure he's okay, Akira gets on his knees and begs him to forgive her. When he tells her it's fine, she tells him she is willing to do anything for him.
Oh my.
Making him realize his little Johnny won't get any rest in this school. Later, as he plays the piano, Yuzu visits him again and panics when she sees a band-aid on her head. Doi tells her he's fine, and it only hurts a little, so she starts licking his wound, claiming that it will help subdue the pain. She then asks him what he thought about their intense yoga, and Doi says it made him really happy. Hearing this, Yuzu asks him if he wants to clap her on the piano, and Doi wastes no time squeezing her milk packs for some juice. Meanwhile, Karen reports to his superiors that Doi has begun clapping, and they ask her why she felt the need to arrange this whole school situation for him. Karen tells them Doi was a virgin loser in his time, so this is all a setup to help build his confidence so he can riz up anyone he wants. On Sunday, Yuzu wakes Doi up with a kiss, and he feels flattered to see her wearing his shirt. She then starts making coffee for him, but Doi goes into hyper gear upon seeing her cakes and hugs her from the back. Yuzu feels that something besides Doi has also awakened, so she lets him start his morning with an early cardio. The next day, Karen drags Doi to the swim class against his will, insisting that he needs some exercise to keep his body healthy. However, she also knows he's getting plenty of workouts thanks to Yuzu, and Doi shyly thanks her for setting them up. As the warm-up starts, Doi starts feeling nervous because he's surrounded by a whole bakery of cakes, only to see all of the girls staring at his magnum. During the actual race, Doi reaches the finish line first and sees that both Shunka and Akira are locked in a close rivalry. In the end, Akira wins by a very small margin, and Doi gets excited seeing that they're both built like Greek goddesses. Just then, he sees Shifuyu claiming that these hoes can't do anything, and she'll be the number one. so he asks what they are competing for. Before she can explain, Akira joins them and once again apologizes for hitting him with the ball, and Doi tells her it's fine. Just then, Chifuyu pulls down Akira's suit to expose her Saturn and Jupiter, so Akira throws her into the pool in retaliation. Chifuyu can't swim to save her life, so a lifeguard has to drag her out of the pool. Just then, the instructor announces that Natsu has scored the fastest time, and as Natsu waves at Doi, Akira gets jealous and leaves. That evening, Yuzu calls Doi to let him know her cookie isn't available tonight, so he decides to sleep early. Just then, Natsu shows up at his door, and Karen informs him that Natsu will have to stay with her because her room's air conditioner is broken. However, Doi realizes that everyone was competing at the pool to stay in his room, and that's when Karen reveals that there will be games each week, which will determine the girl who gets to spend a week with him. The following day, Doi acts normally and gets ready for school, only to see that Natsu hasn't changed her clothes. She then reveals that she is used to maids at home and needs help, and Doi agrees to help her dress up. While doing so, he tries his best to keep his eyes closed because his magnum belongs to Yuzu, but he accidentally glances at a scar on Natsu's back, which makes him curious. Later, he tells Karen about Natsu's situation, and she plays along with Natsu's fake story about maids. Karen then tells him that he should do more than that with Natsu, which makes him spill water on her clothes. As she leaves to dry up, Shumka joins him at the table, and he asks her about Natsu's dressing situation, and she confirms it as well. Later, he calls Yuzu to ask if he can get a sloppy toppy tonight, but she tells him she can't do anything because it's that time of the month. She then asks him to befriend other girls in his class as well and ends the call, but Doi is dead set on Yuzu alone. At night, when Doi tries to sleep, Natsu tells him she is not used to sleeping alone and always needs someone by her side, so he agrees to let her in his bed. At night, she brings out the scar on her back and realizes he's a nice guy because he didn't even bring it up. She then reveals she was supposed to marry a man 20 years older than her, but the man died due to the virus. She says she is thankful for the virus because it saved her from that miserable life and has brought her into Doi's bed. She then admits she has been in love with him ever since she laid eyes on him, and in the heat of the moment, Doi ends up kissing her. As things move forward, he decides to forget about Yuzu for the night and explore Natsu's holy caves, and it ends with both of them losing a lot of calories. Meanwhile, Rito's whole life is turned into a documentary for the world, and when he asks Mura if there is any demand for the show, she tells him 94% of the country watches it. He then asks Mura if she's seen Mahiru around, only to learn that his dumb sister has been living in the refugee camps. Mira is concerned that she will be harmed if people found out she was his sister, so Rito asks Mira to take care of her. Later, Rito runs into Hino, who tells him he's going to be a dad, but they don't know if it's a boy or a girl. Meanwhile, Doi wakes up beside Natsu after clapping her all night, and she asks for his help in drinking water. Doi takes a sip and locks lips with her, and she admits she does not want to leave his room ever. Afterward, Doi visits Yuzu in the piano class to tell him that he smashed Natsu, but she says it's fine because they've decided to go the communist route on his magnum. When he asks her what this means, Yuzu starts to tear up and runs out of the room. Later, he brings Karen to the roof to get an idea of what's going on in the world, and he says he actually believes her story of all the men dying in this world. However, he also knows that this school is a way to experiment on him, and they want to keep him in high spirits so they can find out why he's immune to the virus. He also believes all the girls here are being used for a cure, and it does not sit right with him. He agrees to help them if Yuzu and Natsu are kept out of this mess, but Karen interrupts him and takes him to the class. There, she admits that he is right about everything except one, and that is that the girls here are all by choice. She adds that he needs to pass his immunity to the next generation of men, or the world would collapse, and all these girls here have volunteered to be with him so he can repopulate. She then asks the girls to take off their plot armor, and all of them display their assets and beg Doi to choose between them. Meanwhile, the higher-ups hold a meeting about Doi, admitting that the school experiment was a success. As for Rito, he refuses to smash anyone, so they decide to remove Mera from the position of his personal attendant. Meanwhile, Rito is still working hard on developing a vaccine, but none of his methods are working. As he exits his lab, he runs into a crazy redhead with her plots out, and while she is reading her notes, she accidentally bumps into him. After realizing he's a man, she runs away in embarrassment, while a mysterious woman watches this scene from a distance. Soon after, some girls ask for Rito's autograph, but this mysterious woman walks up to him, claiming he is a disgusting freak who hounds every woman here. At first, Rito starts wondering how Sage escaped the Valorant universe, but his thoughts are interrupted when he gets a call from Mira. When he goes to see her, he finds her standing by the United Women's higher-ups, who introduce him to his new attendants, Ri and Maria. They explain that Rito has become famous worldwide and will need more attendants, which is why these girls are here. Maria is a skilled scientist who will help him in creating a cure, and Ri is an expert in international relations who will replace Mira and assist him in understanding this world better. After that, Mira exits the room, but Rito starts arguing with the higher-ups about replacing her. They suggest he clap her if he likes her that much, and that her only role now will be offering her kitty to him. After the executives leave, Ree blames Rito for forcing Mira out of her role because he's a virgin idiot who refuses to smash. She also tells Rito that if he continues to resist, his freedom in this facility will be restricted. Later, she meets Mira and tells him not to worry about Rito because he's a misogynist loser. But Mira tells her it's quite the opposite and leaves abruptly. Afterward, Rito takes a train to Cayman City, and Maria tells her they're going to meet a head researcher on the virus. Rito quickly stands up upon hearing this and accidentally spills her drink, prompting her to rush to the bathroom. Akane is sitting nearby with Mira and asks her to sit with Rito, but Mira says she can't because she is no longer his attendant. Meanwhile, as Maria washes her clothes, Rito stands against the wall and apologizes for making a mess. She tells him it's fine, as she gets nervous around men, so Rito suggests they take it slow so she gets used to him. He then asks her if he knows about the origins of the virus, and she goes into extreme detail about all the ways the virus could have appeared in the world. Rito then asks her if she thinks the virus was man-made, and this intrigues her so much that she opens the door and makes Rito fall. She then reveals they will be able to test his theory in Cayman City because that's where the first patient appeared. Soon after, they reach their hotel, and while Rie is very strict about following rules, Akane reminds her that part of her job is to make the environment more relaxing for Rito. When Rie refuses to fold, Akane smacks her in the face with a pillow, which infuriates her. Later, as Rito relaxes in a hot spring, all of his attendants join him, but the guy gets nervous and tries to leave. That's when Akane tells him that he must help them wash their backs, so he starts by helping Sui before moving on to Maria. Afterward, Mira takes a seat to receive his services, and Rito admits she's got a curvy back. Akane asks Rie to join them, but Rie is too big a feminist to let herself be touched by a man. Akane then takes a seat and makes Rito wash him with his bare hands, carefully guiding his hands into her no-no zones. However, when Rito accidentally touches her kitty, he gets so nervous that he bolts out of there. The following day, they meet the wife of the man who was the first patient of the virus, but she refuses to help because her husband never received a proper funeral because of them. Maria calmly explains that they had to do an autopsy on the man to stop the virus, but she still doesn't give any info and tells them to leave. Afterward, the woman calls Arisa and tells her that Rito is here and that she should meet him. The following day, Rito revisits the old lady, but she instead tells him to just smash chicks and repopulate the planet. When Rie tells him Rito hasn't touched a woman ever since he woke up, she tells all the girls to leave the room. She then asks Rito why he isn't taking this golden chance to clap, and Rito admits it's because he is in love with a girl and would also do this with her. However, he still wants to help humanity, and that's exactly why he wants to find a cure for this virus. Hearing this puts a smile on the old woman's face, but then she tells him they're done for the day. At night, Rito is enjoying the hot spring without permission, while Sui keeps watch. Just then, some students show up at the spring, so Rito quickly hides inside the steam room. There, he runs into a thick blonde, and when he tries to leave, she threatens to tell everyone of his existence. Rito agrees to stay, so she proposes a game where he will have to outlast her in this room for him to go free. As the room heats up, she exposes her melons and introduces herself as Chloe, a student from America who is in love with Japanese culture. She then asks Rito to share some of his Japanese juices with her, but Rito resists the temptation like a true virgin. Soon after, the room gets too heated, and Chloe passes out, so Rito takes her to the bathing room, where she asks him to help her drink water with a mouth-to-mouth. When he refuses, she threatens to scream, so Rito gives up and leans in for a kiss. Just then, Sui, Akane, and Rie enter the room and assume he was trying to diddle with Chloe, so they leave without saying anything. Just then, Chloe gets back on his feet and drops her coat, making him realize it was all an act so she could fiddle with his joystick. The following day, the old lady asks Rito to go to the bakery around the corner and get her a pastry. After he leaves with Rie, she asks Mira to come in so they can talk in private. She then asks Mira what she thinks of Rito, and Mira admits he's extremely selfish for not wanting to clap chicks only because he's in love with a girl. However, she also knows most men would fold in this situation, but he has been fighting the temptation against the entire world, which makes him an incredible man. Later, when Rito returns, the old woman asks him if he'll ever have kids, and he says he won't have them by choice. He makes it clear that he only loves one girl and only wants a family with her, so the lady asks him to visit again tomorrow so they can talk about more things. Turns out, she had talked with Arisa earlier and asked her to meet Rito, or she might lose him. However, Arisa said she would continue to save the world, and no matter whom Rito chooses, she will only love him. This makes the lady realize they are both very alike, so she decides to tell him about her husband tomorrow. Unfortunately for her, someone visits her room at night and poisons her, which makes her condition critical. Before passing out, she asks the nurse to give her photo frame to Rito. The next day, she falls into a coma, so Rito takes the photo frame and promises to return it when the lady gets better. Soon after, Rito visits the abandoned hospital where the first infected person was brought in, hoping to find answers to how it all started. Inside, Sui starts freaking out because she's scared of ghosts, and Rito assures her she'll be fine. After failing to find any clues, he discusses with Maria how the infected appeared in multiple places in the world at the same time. In the meantime, Hino is getting freaky with a new batch of chicks, and one of them is the most popular girl from his old part-time job. Since he's giving her all the attention, his other two shawties start to feel left out, so he decides to clap them all at once. However, despite getting sloppy toppies from a new girl every day, Lino can't help but feel bored with his daily routine. Back in Keeman City, Ri is in the hot spring when Akane joins her, claiming that she wants them to get along. Ri gets annoyed and threatens to leave, so Akane gets to the point and reveals she checked the medical records of the old lady, and her numbers don't seem to add up. Akane is certain someone poisoned her, but Ri takes it lightly and says she will let her higher-ups know right now. Akane quickly stops her from leaving and asks what she was doing the night it happened, and Ri claims she was reporting to her seniors about their progress with Rito. Just as Akane turns to leave, Ri asks her why she's worried about Director Kara, and this leaves Akane shocked. The following day, Ria returns the photo frame to Rito after a thorough inspection and reveals she found nothing out of the ordinary. When he tries putting it in his bag, he notices a vibration in his bag and realizes the photo reacted to Eris's ring that he possesses. Just then, they pass by a school where Maria's younger sister studies, so Rito suggests they stop and allow the siblings to reunite. Turns out, it is the same school made for Doi, and Karen is taking Yuzu out of there as her job is done. Meanwhile, Hino is taking a drive with Neen in the city because he wants to handpick the next girl he claps. Just then, he spots a cute girl with pigtails and asks Neen to pick her. But Neen is hesitant because that girl is Rito's sister Mahiru. Meanwhile, Rito locks himself in the bathroom stall and uses the photo frame to unlock a hidden file on the ring, which tells him how the man-ending virus was created in a lab. Rito recalls Arisa telling him the same thing and also understands why the old lady wasn't sharing the info with the United Women Org, and it makes the guy nervous. Just then, Sui starts yelling that they will miss the train if he takes any longer, so he rushes outside, not knowing who he can trust anymore. Elsewhere, in an apartment building, a random girl is giving a tongue twister to her friend, but she isn't feeling it and tells her to stop. However, the first girl proceeds to drink her melon juice right before Ri shows up and knocks her out with a taser. The second girl immediately locks Ri in a kiss, and then asks her why she hasn't visited lately, and Ria reveals it's because she's now Rito's attendant. She believes Ri is now playing scissors with another woman, but Ri gently grabs her chin and asks her to do something for her. Meanwhile, Rito is with Maria when he realizes he can't make a cure on his own and would need some help with it, so he asks Maria why there is no information regarding a potential vaccine on the internet. Maria quickly blurts out that the directors don't let them do proper research on a vaccine, and instead allocate all the resources to food production. She adds that most of the research is in America, and she doesn't have access to it, but she still doesn't get why they're not doing more research now that they have a few men in working conditions. Amid their discussion, Nane shows up and tells Rito that Hino wants to clap Mahiru. But since Mahiru is not on board, Nane wants Rito to confront Hino head-on and stop him. Later, Rito breaks the news to Hino, but he starts begging him to at least let them meet first. In the end, Rito agrees to talk to Mahiru, but makes it clear that the decision is in Mahiru's hands. Meanwhile, Neen and Ray are in a meeting with Kara and the other directors, and they discuss a recent riot between groups, as they wonder how to control the public. Ray suggests they make Rito distribute rations among the groups, as he's popular and people will listen to him. On the other hand, Rito is in the shower when Akane and Maria walk in, which makes his pickle excited. Maria reveals they did it so they can talk without being heard, and Akane confronts him regarding the information he's been hiding about the virus. She tells him that many virologists have disappeared in the last few years, and the path he's on might lead to his death if he's not careful. Akane then reveals that the head director, Kara, is actually her mother, but before she can say anything further, Ri enters the shower to discuss ration distribution. After Akane shoos her off by flashing Rito's Jr., she tells him that it'll be a good opportunity for him to learn more in the refugee areas. Meanwhile, Ri tries to raise up Mira by claiming she's been in love with her for years, but Mira refuses to acknowledge her and leaves. The next day, Rito meets Akira in an abandoned building where they have created a new hideout to hide from the org, and she tells him not to trust the directors or Ri. Later, Rito distributes rations among the refugees, and while others eagerly wait in line to meet him, some women in the back realize it's a stunt by the org to shut them up. Meanwhile, a sniper is stationed at a distant building, ready to turn Rito into the next Charlie Kirk, but Ri's sister takes her out and reports to Ri that the assassin has been eliminated. Rini also has some friends watching the area for others, and when she asks Ri why she is so concerned about a man, Ri says it's because she doesn't want to make Mira sad. Elsewhere, Rito sets up a date between Hino and Mahiru, but Mahiru finds the man repulsive and walks out on him. Afterward, Hino takes out his frustration by clapping cookies, but he still can't shake off the rejection. Later, Rena joins him in the shower and asks if he's in love with Miharu, but he shakes it off and embraces her. Later, Rito heads to their secret base in the refugee area, where he learns that Maria has hacked into an underground network of the org. She says she learned hacking from her friend, who's now in America and can't contact her. Just then, a Kane scares everyone by entering the room in a zombie mask and helps them with their research. Maria then learns that the hacker friend she mentioned earlier is hospitalized, so when she looks further into it, she realizes all of her friends, who were brilliant virologists, have been admitted into a hospital that doesn't even exist, meaning they have been missing. This makes Rita wonder if this said hospital is the place where the man-ending virus was created. That night, Doi is in bed with Natsu, still thinking about how this school is made just for him. Just then, Natsu says it's her last day in his room and begins kissing her, but Doi gently pushes her aside and tells him he's not in the mood. He then leaves the school building to get some air, but Karen shows up and says he's not allowed to leave. Doi asks if he will live here forever, but Karen tells him he can leave when he graduates, before dragging him back inside. The following day, Karen asks the girls to draw lots, and the winner will be the next one to ride Doi's pogo stick. As the girls start drawing from the box, Doi feels sad because he is being treated like an object. Just then, a girl named Yanagi wins the contest, but Doi isn't happy because Yanagi is the hoe type, which reminds him of his bully's girlfriend. Later, Yanagi walks on him in the bathroom and asks to be clapped right there, but Doi immediately bolts out of there. He goes to the teacher's office and recalls that this is where he used to hide when he had to cry like a little baichen. Just then, Shunka walks into the room and casually sits on the sofa, inviting him to talk with her. She asks why he has bruises on his body, and he says it's because he was bullied pretty hard. Just thinking about it makes him tear up, so when he tries to change the topic, Shunka shows him the bruises on her body and reveals she was bullied too. She adds that she has made friends now, but it still hurts her when she thinks about the past. Turns out, she also uses this room as her safe haven, which makes Doi realize they're very similar. Shunka then wishes to see his bruises, but it ends with them locking in a kiss. Shunka then exposes her unga-bungas to Doi, and the man turns into a Neanderthal within seconds. He then demonstrates that he can heal wounds by licking them, so Shunka asks him to use his powers on her kitty. After giving her a taste of his magnum, Doi takes her back to his room, but Yanagi gets upset because it was her turn to receive backshots. In the end, she figures Doi is already cranking it with Shunka, and this leads to an argument between the girls. Doi gets fed up and runs outside, where he tries calling Yuzu, but she doesn't pick up. That's when he runs into Akira, and when she asks him if he's having fun with Yanagi, Doi says it's exhausting to be a roommate with someone he barely knows. He then lays eyes on Akira's rack and juicy drumsticks, and it awakens his inner degenerate. When Akira apologizes again for hitting him with the ball, he tells her his head still hurts when he sleeps at night. Akira panics and agrees to do anything to make up to him, so he suddenly turns evil and asks her to show him her bouncy balls. Without hesitation, she lets him get a full hands-on inspection, but Doi suddenly realizes he's not built for this and runs off. The following day, he meets Akira in the gym and apologizes for what he did, and she tells him he can make it up to her by helping her with the equipment. However, once they are inside the equipment room, Akira turns on her freaky mode and ties him up, revealing that she has been gooning to him day and night and can't wait any longer. She starts by giving him a sloppy toppy and then proceeds to let him swipe her B card, not knowing that Natsu is listening to everything from the outside. After it's done, she keeps apologizing to Doi, but the guy is in post-nut clarity and says nothing.
It felt so good, man. I done waited all this time.
That night, he even asks Karen to send Yanagi away so he can sleep alone peacefully. The next day, he learns that he will be assigned a new chick every day from now on, and it will start with Yanagi since her week was cut short. She also adds that he must reward his servant with a kiss and asks Yanagi to receive her reward. After Yanagi locks lips with him, he gets flustered and tries to run, only to hit the desk and hurt his hand. Karen immediately takes him to the nurse's office, where the nurse asks him to lie on the bed for a full body scan. Afterward, Karen suddenly barges in and tells him that Natsu, Shunka, and Akira will stay with him until he's better, and even when he tells her he's already fine, she refuses to listen. Doi is then locked in the room with all three of them, and they use the power of their magical tongue to heal his wounds. After that, they take turns fiddling with his joystick, while Karen watches the whole scene from a camera. She then turns to Shilin, a former classmate of Doi, and tells her that it's time to move on to the next stage. The following day, Chifiyu creates a potion in science class to make Doi fall for her, only for him to catch her red-handed. She diverts by asking about his injured hand and then offers to be his roommate for the night, but Doi can't understand what they like about him. When Chifiyu says it's his face, Doi starts to laugh and then gives her a forehead kiss, telling her that she's too flat for his taste. This makes her feel annoyed, so she tells him she's going to make him fall for her as she runs out of the lab. That night, Karen tells Doi that Yuzu has to transfer to a different school for family reasons, and this makes him furious. He angrily pins Karen against the wall and tells her to bring Yuzu back, so she folds and promises to bring her tomorrow morning. However, he knows he will never see Yuzu again, and this finally pushes him past his breaking point. The next day, when he's assigned a new girl, he kisses her in class as a reward, and even asks Karen to send her to his room at night. That night, he goes full caveman mode on the new girl, admitting that this school is driving him mad. However, things take a drastic turn when Shine is introduced as the new transfer student to his class, which leaves him in shock. He immediately recalls how Shine was a popular girl in school whom every guy wanted to be with. Then one day, while he was getting beaten up on the rooftop, Sheehan showed up with her friends and completely disregarded him. She sat down with her friends to have a laugh, all while Doi was getting beaten up by his bullies. At present, Doi is at the same roof when Sheehan shows up and tries to make small talk, but Doi doesn't have anything to say to her. She then immediately grabs his hand and begs him to help her, but Doi refuses after everything she put him through. Later, she tries to get friendly with Natsu and Shuka, but they both shut her down. Akira then gives her a reality check that everyone here is both a rival and a friend, but since Shingon is the new girl, no one gives two forks about her. Later, Doi sees Shingon sitting alone in class and asks Karen why she is here despite being older than everyone else. Karen reveals that Shingon wanted to be an idol, but her dream was crushed because of the virus, and now she's struggling to get back on her feet. However, if Doi were to give her a little more than his insight, the higher-ups would notice her and make her dream come true. Doi argues that Shingon doesn't like him and only wants to do it to get work, so Karen suggests they make her show how much she wants it. Later, Karen tells Shingon that she must attend all classes without her plot armor, and Doi will help her at the end of the day. The next day, Shingon does as asked, so Doi kisses her as a reward and tells her to meet him on the roof after school. Once there, Doi agrees to talk to the org to make her an idol if he lets him clap her, and she happily agrees. However, he asks some of his classmates to watch while he claps, similar to how she watched when he was getting bullied. Shingon hesitates at first because she's still got her V card, but he reminds her of her dream to become an idol, so she lets him hit it from the back while the girls watch. That night, Karen tells him he should go into full freaky mode because no one would judge her, and she will fulfill all of her demands, so he asks her to bring a certain someone to this school. Meanwhile, Rito and the others figure out that Maria's missing friends must be locked up in the hospital, which created the virus, so they decide to visit the place. A few days later, Doi is helping the school nurse take measurements of girls, and he realizes they're making him do this, so he gets a chance to feel some real buns. That evening, Karen tells her that the woman he has requested is here, and she turns out to be Erika, who was his bully's girlfriend, and was also involved in everything. As soon as she sees Doi, she fumes up like a kettle, only for Karen to remind her of her place here. After Karen leaves, Doi tells her he won't give her a taste of his magnum, but instead, he makes her lick all the wounds she gave him while he laughs like a maniac. That night, Director Mary praises Karen for turning an innocent boy into the second coming of Johnny Sins. When Karen asks about Yuzu, Mary tells her that she's pregnant and is doing well. She then asks Karen to keep sending her any pregnant girls, but Karen argues they need a research lab closer to the school. Mary explains that building new labs is risky because the United Women headquarters could notice, especially since they've already sent someone to inspect their operations in Japan. She also suspects they've learned there are other active men besides Rito. Karen then suggests there might be a mole and subtly points at Director Hope, reminding Mary that she used to work at headquarters. The next day, Karen asks the girls to try harder for Doi, so when he's assigned a new girl, she smooches him like there's no tomorrow. The next day, during swim class, Natsu tries to lure him by showing him her new swimsuit, while the other girls, including a fresh piece named Koyu, compete in the pool. In the meantime, Natsu cuts open Doi's swimsuit and then makes him hide in the water alongside Akira, so they can have him all to themselves. After the other girls leave, Doi gets a little annoyed, so they ask him to punish them for their behavior. At that moment, Doi realizes there is no point resisting and decides to go caveman mode on both of them. From that day onward, Doi becomes a complete degenerate and claps Stradi's every chance he gets. Then one day, he handpicks a girl from class and takes her to his room, and the girl sees that he's chained up Erika to his bed. Doi then asks Erika what happened to his boyfriend, and she says she doesn't know. When Doi says that man is better off dead, Erika starts yelling that because Doi is mad about something that happened 5 years ago. However, Doi reminds her that he spent all that time in cold sleep, so only a few weeks have passed from him. After that, he turns his attention to the chick he brought from his class and gives her a warm-up. He then proceeds to do some intense cardio with her, all while Erika watches in a mix of rage and embarrassment. At night, while he is asleep with the chick, Erika suddenly starts panting, so he wakes up to check on her. He knows Erika was a drug addict before this and is going through withdrawal, and that's why he already has the medicine for her. She begs him to give her the pill, so he makes her take it from her mouth like a true villain. Meanwhile, Rito and the squad take a train to the secret hospital they discovered, and he hopes to find all the answers there. At the same time, an agent of the Peacekeeping Bureau is on her way to Japan, and Chloe informed her that the Japan branch is hiding multiple functioning men. Later, the higher-ups discuss this and wonder if Agent Mansfield is coming to search for a terrorist group called the Izanami. After talking it through, they realize the Bureau won't send an agent for such a small issue, which means they must be planning something bigger. Meanwhile, Doi enters the class and is assigned a girl named Hikaru, so he immediately pulls her in for a kiss. He then tells her to come to his room, but she apologizes because it's that time of the month for her. That night, Karen gets a call from Mary, who informs him that a different agent from World Headquarters will be coming tomorrow. Meanwhile, Hikaru is playing with a cat outside when she gets a call from Arisa, who apologizes for putting her through this. Turns out, Arisa sent Hikaru as an undercover student at the school because it is essential to her plan. On the other hand, Doi decides to clap Natsu for the night, and she takes him to the girls' bath, where Shunka and Akira are already waiting for him. They start by giving him a proper cleanup, during which Shunka complains that he didn't invite him to their pool party. Doi rewards her by playing piano on her kitty before moving on to the full musical performance with her. After they're all done, Inaji comes running in and complains that they left her out. Unlike before, Doi wastes no second and takes her on a ride, while the other three watch the whole scene in high definition. In the following days, Doi gets action in the library, the infirmary, and even during class. Meanwhile, Rito and the others arrive at the abandoned hospital. And before they start the investigation, Akane asks Rito what he feels about Mira, knowing that she likes him. When Rito starts blushing, Akane starts teasing him for being a virgin, which makes him even more embarrassed. When Sui tries to stop her, Akane gives her a jump scare, which causes her to crash into a wall. As the wall comes crumbling down, Rito sees an open air duct that is big enough to fit them. At the same time, the representative of the Bureau lands in Japan and is welcomed by Director Kara herself, who assumes she is meeting Agent Mansfield. However, the woman reveals she's actually Mansfield's partner, Pope, and Mansfield herself is at a crucial place in this country. Back at the abandoned hospital, Rito and the girls crawl through the air duct and come across a vent that leads them to a hidden facility. When they accidentally drop below, they come face to face with the director Hope. Maria immediately asks her if her friends are here, but the director refuses to answer and gives them all a death sentence. Just then, Hope and her subordinates are shot down by some soldiers who were led by Chloe, the same American chick whom Rito met inside the steam room. She then introduces herself as Agent Mansfield from World Headquarters, who is also in charge of the peacekeeping operations. She reveals she's been keeping tabs on him ever since his big announcement, and he led her to this lab. Just then, a bomb explodes somewhere, and she asks them all to exit before they are blown to bits. As they run outside, they see a helicopter waiting for them and fly away right before the building explodes, though Rito feels annoyed because he was really close to discovering the truth behind the virus. Meanwhile, at the school, the girls are arguing over who gets stabbed Doi's magnum for the day, and he ends the fight by proposing group therapy. He then makes all of them line up like horses and takes turns blessing them with his wisdom. That night, Chloe catches Cheyenne trying to run away from the school, and she is super excited because Doi is finally tapping into his degenerate tendencies. Just then, Chloe's helicopter flies near the school, and she discusses with Rito that the Japan branch has been involved in some shady stuff. Back at the Japan headquarters, Pope investigates the directors about Director Hope's actions, and even though they all deny any involvement, Pope is certain they are all in cahoots. She then asks Kaharu if there are any other men besides Rito, but Kaharu decides to put her under arrest because she knows too much. However, her plan backfires when Pope turns their own guards against them and reveals that their director Shudo their team was on their side from the get-go. Pope then puts the remaining 3 under arrest for manufacturing and spreading the man-ending virus, along with some other offenses. Back on the helicopter, Chloe tells the group that the directors blew up the lab to hide the fact that they created the virus, and they never planned to help Rito from the start. She also reveals that the world was already in a mess, but when the world learned that the only immune man in the world was under the org's control, the crime rate in the world doubled overnight. Chloe also shows him a picture of Arisa, revealing that she has attached herself to a terrorist organization that opposes the United Women's rule. At that moment, Rito recalls how Arisa was dead, focused on saving lives to the point that she wouldn't allow herself to have fun, and he can't believe the same Arisa is now a wanted terrorist. At the same time, Doi enters his room and finds Erika in a better state, so he hands her a blanket to cover herself. Just then, multiple explosions are heard outside the school, and Chloe informs Rito that the terrorists have kidnapped Doi. Later, Doi sees Yuzu in a dark room, and she gently tells him he's got the biggest ding-dong she's ever seen. However, Doi suddenly wakes up from this fantasy dream in a hospital and realizes his pickle is still 2 inches. Karen is thrilled to see him and explains that he was almost kidnapped by terrorists. Before she can explain further, Natsu, Akira, and Shunka barge into the room. Once they see him in good shape, they throw their arms around him and start crying. That night, Karen takes Doi to the school roof and shows him that they've put up electrocuted fences around the school to make sure he's never harmed again. She then asks him why he tried to save Erika during the explosion, and Doi says it was reflex, even though deep down he now cares for her. He apologizes because he knows how valuable he is, given that he's the last man on Earth. But Karen finally tells him there are 5 others, and 2 of them are still in cold sleep. This shocks Doi, because one of them could be his bully, so Karen offers to take him to Tokyo. She also explains that someone from the world headquarters is in the city, and she wants to decide Doi's fate before they do. When Doi asks what she is after, she makes it clear that she wants to be the #1 woman in the world. She also adds that she wants Doi to become the #1 man in the world too, and Doi agrees to help. He then asks why she never thought of becoming a mother, and she says she would rather be the coach and control the field. With that, they shake on their new alliance, unaware that Hikaru is spying on them. She then calls Arisa to tell her she failed to secure Doi, so Iria tells her to abandon the mission. Hikaru then asks about her mission, and she reveals they managed to kidnap #4, who is still in cold sleep. Meanwhile, Director Shudo tells Ri and Nin that Hino and Rito must be brought to the headquarters for their own safety. Later, Chloe informs them that #4 was kidnapped from the lab, and this all could have been prevented if the Japan headquarters had told everyone about the men they were hiding. Rito asks why the terrorists are kidnapping men, and Chloe believes it is due to the Japan branch's dictatorship. Ri immediately claims they're not dictators, but even she knows that people don't think the same way. Turns out, Arisa is a leader of one of these terrorist groups, which Rito still finds unbelievable. Chloe then praises Rito for his commitment to dying a virgin, unlike Hino, who has been provided with women who were forced to be here. Rito is confused because he thought all the women here are by choice, and Chloe promises to keep him safe from this dictatorship as she leaves the room. Chloe then reports to her higher-ups that everyone except #4 is secure, and even Hino refused to clap any more chicks because he's in love with someone else. She seems calm and composed, but when the call ends, she starts acting like a crazy woman who's hiding something. Later, Chloe barges into Hino's room to inform him that he's not allowed to leave the room for security reasons. She also tells him he won't be allowed to meet Rino without her permission. But Hino gets frustrated because he finally understands what it feels like to be a woman in the Middle East. That night, Rito is in his room, wondering why Arisa became a terrorist when he learns that her tracker now shows she's in Japan. Just then, Akane enters the room and says they need to talk in private. She is about to take her shirt off, but Rito stops her and just lets the water run to make sure no one can hear them. She then informs him that her mother and the other directors are on trial for manufacturing the man-ending virus, but something tells Akane that they aren't the real culprits. She then reveals her mother is a hardworking woman who didn't even attend her own son's funeral because she was busy stopping the virus spread, and that's why it can't be her who created the virus. Seeing her tear up, Rito realizes she might be right and promises to arrange a meeting with Director Kaihara. Just then, Maria takes them to the living room, where Rito sees Arisa addressing everyone through a live broadcast. She claims she is not a terrorist, but a group called Izanami that's aiming to free the world from the United Women's rule. Once she displays her tattoo, Rito spots the pendant around her neck, which confirms that she is the real Arisa. She then exposes the organization's lies by introducing them to Zen, the fourth man, who is in cold sleep at the headquarters. She adds that Zen can survive the world just like Rito, and the orc has been hiding some dark secrets from the world. She then tells them about a scrapped-up satellite they found in a junkyard, which has a high concentration of the man-ending virus on board. The president of the company that manufactured that satellite is now one of the leaders at United Women Org, and this leads Arisa to believe that this virus was created in a lab to wipe out all men, because their goal is to create a world that comprises only women. She also adds that America is currently developing a method to continue the human race without the need for a man, so she demands that all men in cold sleep be handed over to Izanami so they can protect them. Upon hearing this, Rito immediately barges into Chloe's office for answers, but she dismisses all accusations by reminding him that none of the men in cold sleep have died so far. She then starts exposing her plots to tempt Rito, but the man runs out of the room before he sees too much of her. Afterward, she calls her seniors again to let them know that everything is going according to plan, and they warn her to be extremely careful with Rito. Meanwhile, Akira manages to reach her mother with Sui's help, but Kara tells her she cannot share any secrets with her. Later, she meets up with Rito and suggests they escape this lab so he can meet Arisa. So Rito heads to his room to grab his stuff. Sui immediately notices that someone is already inside, so as they carefully step in, they run into Karen and another man, who introduces himself as Doi, even though he looks very different from the real Doi. Before coming here, Karen put Doi into a high-tech chamber that speeds up the body's aging process, so he'd stop looking like a twink. Just in a few hours, he was pulled out like a completely different person. She then took Doi to the lab where he's currently shaking hands with Rito. He asks Doi where he's been staying until now, and Doi says he was in Keeman City, but had to leave due to the terrorist attack. Karen then asks Rito what Chloe is like, and Rito says he doesn't know much because he is always distracted by the planetary bodies on her rack. Even though Chloe saved his life, Rito still admits he can't fully trust her because both parties seem shady. After that, Karen tells Maria that her sister is also here, so Maria runs into the other room to see Chifuyu. Akira, Shunkan, and Natsu are also there, and they are glad to see the sisters reunite. Later, Natsu explains how their school was attacked by a terrorist, and when they learned there were other men besides Doi, their whole world flipped upside down. Afterward, Chifuyu learns Maria is Rito's attendant and asks if she got backshots from him, which causes Maria to spill her drink. Meanwhile, Doi and Karen discuss how Rito seems mature and intelligent compared to Hino. Doi then asks if Yuzu is here, and Karen says she was sent somewhere safer after the attack, and not even the leaders of United Women know her whereabouts. After that, Karen leaves the room, but Doi is still worried about Yuzu. In the meantime, Rito calls Mira to her room, and when she asks what he wants to talk about, he invites her to the shower. At first, Mira thinks he's gonna diddle with her, but Rito takes her in and reveals this is just his way of having a secret conversion without anyone hearing it. He then tells her that too much is happening in the world right now, and he wants Mira to escape with him from this place. Mira questions why he didn't think she'd tell her seniors about his plan, and Rito admits he didn't even think about that possibility because she's always been there since he woke up. He starts yapping about how he wants to find the truth about Arisa, but Mira says he cannot come with him. She then starts removing her plot armor and says she will be allowed to leave if he gives her some backshots. But Rito refuses, as usual. Mira then falls to her knees and starts crying, while she remembers how she was raised from the beginning solely to be Rito's attendant. As she breaks down, Rito tries to comfort her, but that leads to an emotional moment with both of them pulling in for a kiss. But at the last second, two guards barge the door open, and Agent Pope tells Rito to come with her. On the way, she reveals that Kane and Sue have also been captured, and they want Rito to be moved to America because his life is endangered inside Japan. She then opens the car door to let Rito in, but Kane and Sui suddenly show up and knock out both guards. In retaliation, Pope holds Mira hostage and threatens to blow her brains out if they move a muscle. Just then, she gets shot by a taser, and it turns out to be Rhea and Maria, who have also had enough of the United Women's antics. Soon after, dozens of guards start running around the lab looking for the escapees. Karen asks Chloe what's going on, and Chloe brushes it off as a minor inconvenience. Chloe then asks why they came here, and Karen says they came to make a deal. After listening to her proposal, Chloe admits the offer sounds nice, so Karen asks her to take them to the three Magi, the three geniuses who run the United Women. Chloe is intrigued to learn that Karen knows about the Magi, so she agrees to set up a meeting if Doi cooperates with them. Karen then asks if they plan to take over Japan, but Chloe claims they are here to protect the country instead. Karen believes a Japanese person should be the one ruling the country, so when Chloe asks her to speak more freely, Karen says she wants to become the next National Affairs Director. Meanwhile, Rito is taken to a safe house where he reunites with Mihiru after a long time. There, Rito learns that Ria was a citizen relations officer and made many allies in the locals by being nice to them, and these locals helped secure Mihiru. Ri's sister is also there, and she informs him that she's arranged a getaway for them. When Ri tells everyone that they will stay here until sunset, Rito thanks her for saving them when in reality, she only cares about Mira. That night, Doi is exploring Akira's Cave of Wonder, but Natsu and Shunka get impatient and join in. Doi asks if they still like her even though he looks older, and they tell him yes by letting him taste their cookies. After finishing up, Doi meets with Karen outside and admits that he feels happy, but Karen says Chloe might not agree with their plan. She also says Rito and his girls all ran away, and things will get a lot busier around here from now on. Meanwhile, Ri takes the squad to an old ship where she tells them she and Mira can't join them from here. She adds that she has a contact who will meet them on the other side and promises to take care of Rito's older brother, who is still in cold sleep. After the others go on board, Rito takes the time to personally thank Mira for everything she's done, and Mira says it was her honor to be by his side. Rito suddenly pulls her into a hug and promises that he will come back for her, and this makes her tear up. Later he goes on board where he meets Hikaru, who introduces herself as a member of the Izanami. She further tells him they are heading to Taiwan, where he will finally get to meet Arisa, who's been looking forward to this day for a while. Later, while Rito is thinking about everything that has happened, Mihiru arrives and hands him a tablet before angrily leaving, making him wonder what he did to upset her. He then gets a call from Hino on the tablet, who is happy Rito managed to escape and wishes he could join them. He also says Nain prepared this tablet for him so he can talk without being traced, and he asks Rito to keep filling him in on everything he's doing. After the call ends, Nain gets sad and asks Hino if he really wanted to leave with Rito, and Hino admits he really cannot leave all of his shawties behind. Meanwhile, Rina is getting escorted by some guards when Doi spots her and comments that she's kinda hot, which gives Karen a nasty idea. At the same time, Pope is getting the housewife treatment from Chloe for failing to capture Rito. After that, she arrests Ri and Mira for conspiring against the United Women org, but Ri takes all the blame and says Mira had nothing to do with anything. However, Chloe already knows Ria has feelings for Mira and is trying to protect her, so she tells her guards to lock both of them up. With that, she prepares for the next step of her plan, which is to wipe out all men from the world. On the other hand, Karen takes Doi to a room where she asks him to choose one of the women on display, and he sees Rina among those women. Karen tells him Hino is not allowed to clap anymore, but she got special permissions for him, which means all of these women belong to him. Meanwhile, Rito and his squad reach Taiwan, and the man finally gets to see Arisa in person. Without wasting a second, he runs to her and pulls her into a hug, and she tears up as she tells him that she's been waiting all this time for him. Rito then reminds him how they both promised to become doctors and find cures when they were young, and Arisa agrees to help him cure the world of the man-ending virus. Will Rito and Arisa save the world from the evil org's plan, or will Chloe succeed in wiping out all men from the world? Let us know in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you want to see more thick mommies.